Ladies and gentlemen, these are the top stories from the world of Formula One for this week. We have a title decider on our hands. Going into the final race of the 2025 Formula One season, we got Max Verstappen still in the championship fight, as unbelievable as it may sound, and he's only 12 points off the championship leader, who is Lando Norris at this point. Oscar Piastri is, he pretty much lost it. He's too far behind, and the fuck up at Qatar by McLaren, no fault of his own. The screw up at Qatar by McLaren. I mean, he was the leading car. There's not much they could have done, and McLaren's pit strategy is usually reactive. But Piastri is pretty much out of it. We still got Verstappen versus Norris, and a lot of things can happen. It could be a very boring race. I'll create another video on this. It could be very boring race, but at the same time, as we have seen it in the past in Abu Dhabi, despite being a dog shit track, for a variety of reasons, it still manages to provide some form of entertainment. We move on. Isaac Adjar is now going to be the teammate of Max Verstappen for 2026 Formula One season and onwards. The latest sacrifice from the Red Bull family to feed whatever demon that powers Max Verstappen is here. And we already talked about this from the middle of the season. This is one of the worst kept secrets. And this is the thing about Red Bull family, like their driver moves are so obvious that when they drop the news, we are like, called it. But anyway, big congratulations to Isaac Hadjar on having a phenomenal career in Formula One with Racing Bulls. Great debut season, amazing improvement through the season. But let's see what happens in 2026. Everybody expects him to be behind Max Verstappen because Verstappen is like a seasoned driver. But at the same time, right now, I think Verstappen is more of like a team leader, and he will definitely help Isaac as much as possible. Obviously not on track, but off track, to help his growth. And also, another thing that Isaac has going on for him is that Verstappen is actually seeing the end of his Formula One career. His words. Verstappen has said it many times in interviews that if I want to stop, I will stop. I do it because I enjoy it. So I think after winning 5 world championships, which is going to happen after Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, after winning 5 world championships, he's going to be like, whatever, and he may call it quits. And then we will have the Isaac Adjar era in the Red Bull seat. So I guess we will see how that pans out 2026. I hope he doesn't get too depressed in the first few races of the season. And like it is like that's the biggest concern that we all have here. But I guess we will see in time. Yuki Tsunoda got a second demotion in the 2025 Formula One season. The first demotion was when he was at Racing Bulls and then he went to Red Bull. The second one is that from Red Bull, now he is going to be the test and reserve driver. And this is the thing, like Yuki did a social media post and he said that I am not done yet. I'll work as hard as possible in order to be a very good test and reserve driver. But at the same time, you have to understand that he needs to look elsewhere, like for his racing career. It's not going to lead to anything such as a full-time racing seat by being a test and reserve driver for Red Bull. We have seen it before. All 5 years of Yuki Tsunoda's career in Formula One, he wasn't that quick. He really wasn't that quick. Even if you look at this year, 2025, Yuki was outqualified by Isaac Hadjar in the second Grand Prix of the season. 2025 Chinese Grand Prix, Isaac was ahead of Yuki. So, and obviously, if you compare Yuki to Pierre Gasly in their, AlphaTauri Visha V-Carb, like whatever the fuck they were being called back in the day, Yuki was extremely behind Pierre Gasly. I mean, even right now, yes, we know that the car is a shitbox and only Max Verstappen can drive around it. But at the same time, I mean, it's just, if you look at Yuki's performance in Silverstone, in Austria, in those type of tracks, it was just absolutely abysmal. He was dead last. He was fighting with the Alpines. He picked up 5-10 second penalties here and there. He's not that good of a driver. So anyway, I mean, I think what he needs to do right now is he needs to do sim racing, a lot of it. Become a streamer. You still have a good fan base. you still can make something out of this. Go to IndyCar, go to some other like category or some other series where you may have a better advantage, where you are actually better and exceptional, because that's what it's all about. Being a reserve driver in Red Bull Racing after so many years in Formula One where you didn't turn many heads. Nobody saw Yuki and like, oh my god, this guy's lighting it up in fire. Oh my god, like look at his performance in the last couple of races. That was never the case for Yuki. So anyway, I mean, he needs to go and look at himself in the mirror and be absolutely honest about what he can and can't do in a Formula One car. But yeah, I mean, he can be in the simulator, do what Valtteri Bottas is doing, although he doesn't have that much of an aura. I guess we will see how this pans out, but I definitely don't think staying in Red Bull is necessarily the best strategy for Yuki Tsunoda going forward. But then again, nobody else wants him, so he's basically stuck with him. We move on. Yuki Tsunoda's replacement, Arvid Lindblad, will be... I mean, it's technically Yuki Tsunoda's replacement, if you think about it, because Isaac Ajar will go to Red Bull and, Yuki is basically fired, so there's one opening. Anyway, the guy replacing Isaac Ajar in Racing Bulls is going to be Arvid Lindblad, and we saw this in Silverstone practice session. Lindblad was actually much quicker than Yuki Tsunoda. That's another thing we need to consider. The guy just jumped into the car, and I know that the lap times in practice sessions are not representative of the true pace of the car and skill set of the driver, but at the same time, you kind of have to, give it a little bit of, benefit of doubt that Arvid Lindblad is actually better than Yuki Tsunoda. So I'm excited to see what he can do. Right now, he's a bit rough around the edges. He goes for the moves that are not quite there always. But at the same time, guys, very exciting to watch. That's what makes it very exciting to watch. So we will see what this British driver can do in the future. I guess we will see how his performance goes up. We move on. Max Verstappen said some words of encouragement and comfort and advice to Kimi Antonelli after Kimi Antonelli undeservingly faced a lot of backlash from the cesspool of human society that is called social media. This is what he had to say. I cannot really say what he said because it contains some bad words. But he just said, don't worry about these kind of people because they're brainless, so just focus on the job. Basically, what Max Verstappen said is that, Kimi, there are a lot of dumb low IQ retards on the internet who will yap shit without knowing anything. They have never achieved anything significant in their lives, and the only way they can feel better is by putting a teenager down. That's what Verstappen said, true story. And happy to see Yuki Tsunoda back, and GP Verstappen's a race engineer. They also clarified things on the radio, not on the radio but in front of the media, and it was all the heat of the moment. The selective broadcast of the conversation between GP and Max kind of triggered all of this, so obviously they do feel a little bit of guilt related to this, but at the same time, you have to understand the social media is the worst fucking place on planet Earth. That's why I don't have any. I don't have any social media handles. I have Instagram because I check out the posts from Formula One and all those drivers and things like that, but I really don't post anything. It's a private account, and I'm happy that way. So Kimi Antonelli, delete your social media, but he probably cannot because of the sponsorships and all those things. So what he needs to do is just make it a complete professional account, give it up, have a secret private account for your friends and family, and that's that. We move on. George Russell exposed Formula One, and he said that we don't need to rely on volunteer stewards. And this is actually a very good thing. We need full-time paid officials because this is how we can instill a little bit of accountability. When stewards make dumb low IQ decisions, and trust me, it happens way more often than you think. When stewards make dumb low IQ decisions, we need something to put the reins in. They need to be accountable. They need to think twice before dishing out a penalty or something like that. And this is actually a great point that George Russell has made off track. Actually, George Russell's points about improving the sport, off-track comments about everything, about improving racing, about the stewarding situation, the driver cooling situation, all those things are actually pretty good points. He should be the class leader. Deservedly, he is the president of the GPDA, Grand Prix Drivers Association. Yes, GPDA. So yeah, George Russell is right about not having volunteer stewards anymore, but I don't know if it's going to lead to any kind of changes. It's insane that Formula One in 2025, the amount of fan following and the revenue that it generates throughout the course of a season is still dependent on volunteers to do the most important job of a race weekend on volunteers. Insane. We move on. Lewis Hamilton, former teammate of George Russell, exposed another incompetency of the FIA related to the Qatar Grand Prix, because Qatar Grand Prix, usually, if you haven't seen the Qatar Grand Prix, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, but if you haven't seen the Qatar Grand Prix, it was a dog shit race in terms of overtaking. It was a fun race in terms of the result and how the strategies panned out and how the drama. But in terms of pure racing and on-track action, wheel to wheel, it was nothing. It was actually nothing. And Lewis did have some good suggestions to improve racing around it. He said that, why didn't we increase the DRS? Why didn't we shorten the pit lane? Because right now the pit lane in Qatar is 26 seconds. You don't need that long of a pit lane. So, I mean, obviously the FIA, because, which is led by Mohammed bin Sulayem, these motherfuckers are extremely concerned in, protecting their public image, securing their positions of power within the organization, and having the goodwill of all the other presidents and chiefs of the racing and governing bodies across the world and across all of the regions of the world. So that's what Ben Sulayem and his posse is focused on, not racing, not professional racing at all. So another day, another point about the incompetent FIA pointed out by the 7-time world champion. So these are the top stories. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.